I was married for 19 years, before my wife cheated on me with her work friend. This is my first time on Reddit. I'll be 75 this July and I've seen a lot of things. I wanted to share my story with the younger generation before I die. Quite frankly, I have lung cancer and I don't expect to be around much longer, so this information needs to get out there. I got married when I was 18 in 1964. It feels like I'm not even the same person anymore. I used to be in good physical shape, and now I'm stuck in a wheelchair. My wife and I both had to work full-time since I didn't have the income to support both of us. I worked in construction and she cleaned hotel rooms. We never had any kids, and we still had time to ourselves on the weekends. I don't think we ever argued, but this was so long ago I'm losing details, though, and we didn't have any issues getting along. Over the years I started to make more money and she was able to quit her job and stay at home. I would work longer nights though, and our marriage turned more into friendship. Honestly, we rarely had sex, and although I still loved her, I felt like it was different. We didn't spend enough time together towards the end. I take the blame for leading us down the wrong road with my job, as you will read later on. This wasn't the only issue, but still I should have addressed this situation while I still could have. One night I get back from work and at first everything seems normal. Dinner was ready and we had the TV set to baseball, my favorite back in the day. I talked to her in the kitchen for a little and went to my room to change out of my work clothes. When I went in there, I found a box of condoms on my nightstand. I started to panic because I had a vasectomy years before this and never used condoms. I immediately asked my wife about them and she couldn't think of an explanation in time. She started crying and came clean about the cheating. She invited her friend from work over for sex while I was out and apparently forgot to get rid of the condoms. I'm not ashamed to admit I was crying as well after hearing that. I tried to find out why she did this and she said she just wasn't attracted to me, was lonely, and never enjoyed our sex. I didn't know what to say and ended up leaving. We got divorced after 19 years of being married. In my 40s I was a disaster. I lost all confidence and motivation to go on. I started drinking and eventually became an alcoholic. It took me until my 60s to kick this habit. I couldn't look myself in the mirror while thinking I was a failure of a man. I wanted to date again, but I just thought the same would happen again. It never occurred to me that I was bad in bed and I really didn't have any good answers. My skin started to wrinkle a bit, especially on the back of my legs, but I took pride in maintaining my figure for a while, and when I had sex during our marriage I swear she enjoyed it. I kept my tough guy appearance through my 30s, and would still wear my bandana during sex, which was a turn on for her. I was generous and always went down on her when she wanted me to. I used cock rings to maintain erections and I could always orgasm extra hard, which was a fetish of hers. If I tried my best, by definition I couldn't do anything else. As time went by though, I started to think about the idea that at an older age sex wasn't too important, and about 5 years ago I started dating again. We don't have an active sex life, but she assured me that there was nothing wrong with me. I remarried last year, which made me so happy, but unfortunately, that's when I got my cancer diagnosis. Since then I've lost a lot of energy and my new wife is the only one that keeps me going. We are trying chemo, but the future looks bleak. In my remaining days I want to share some knowledge I've collected over the years to make the world a better place. My mental abilities are also slowly waning, so I need to do this before it's too late. I hope all reading this can learn something from me to make their life better. Comments: thank you for sharing and God bless you. I only wished I had someone by my side while going through chemo. Unfortunately I'm in stage 4 now. My fiancé left me cause he said I pushed him to the point. Well, long story short, I started hearing rumors about him and some girl. It started with a female who worked at Comment Sent on 3 different visits to the store whenever me and my fiancé would go, and she got a attitude and was rude, kept giving my fiancé rude looks. So by the 3rd time, something on my gut said something going on. So I went down and asked her, woman to woman, is there something she wants to say to me? Well, she didn't just come out and say it, but she hinted to it. I went home, confront him, and he blew up on my face. Tell me it was my fault. I should have not said something, just believe him. I said nah, I've had 2 marriage go down like this and I keep quiet, not this time. From that moment on I kept hearing rumors from different people, described the same girl. But anyway, I don't need a confession cause this happened in June 2020 and yet it's still being said in my gut. Second story, my wife recently figured out my friend's wife was having an affair with me. 5 years ago, right after my divorce, I met this woman at a concert. She was a bit younger than me, but we hit it off and she wound up going to a bar with me and my friends after that show ended. It was a fun night and we exchanged numbers. At that time, I wasn't really using any social media except FB, and that was just to keep up with my kids' school and activities, so we never friend, just text each other. At first the texts were casual, a little flirty every once in a while, but nothing to suggest there was any interest in anything sexual. Turns out she only lived 20 minutes from me, but we never met up or saw each other. After a couple weeks of texting we figured out we were both going to be at the same concert again, but this time in another city. It was a guy weekend for me and a girl weekend for her. So, her and her friends met me and my friends before the concert. We did a little bar hopping together. Her and her friends were younger than me and my friends, and I was the only single one amongst my friends. My friends and I, noticed none of these girls were wearing wedding rings, so we assumed they were all not married. They were all younger than us and there didn't seem to be much interest outside of being friends. That was fine. At the time I wasn't interested in a relationship anyway. After going to a couple bars, we went to the concert. Her and her friends had floor tickets and me and my friends had seats. I thought that was the end of it for that night. After the concert, me and my friends went to a bar and then to our hotels. Right after I got to my room, this woman texted me and asked if I wanted to come have some more drinks with her. She was at a place close to my hotel, so sure, I agreed. I went back out expecting to see her and her friends. But it was just her. I don't even think I finished my drink by the time we were heading back to my hotel. It was awesome. When we got back home, she started coming over to my house during the day. I have a flexible job and most days work from my house. She travels around the area for her job, so she had time to come over during the day. She'd come over after my kids went to school and left before they got home. Some days she was at my house almost the whole time my kids were at school. Even if it wasn't my time with the kids, she was there during the same time. Never at night and never during the weekends. It was just a FWB type relationship that was perfect for me. I was involved with my kids, even coaching 2 of their teams, so it never interfered with my time with them or my friends. Also, I wasn't looking for a relationship and definitely didn't want a relationship with someone that young that may want kids. I'm done having kids. I was upfront with her about how I felt, and she was fine with it. She said she wasn't looking for a relationship either. This went on for almost a year. Eventually I met someone, my now wife, and broke it off with her. She was fine with that too. We never text each other again. A year after I met my wife we got married. 2 years ago, I met this woman again at a neighborhood gathering. Me and my wife were introduced to her and her husband by a friend of mine. They had recently bought the house right next to his. When we first saw each other, it wasn't awkward or anything. We just smiled and said hi. I told my wife about our past when we got home that night. My wife is very understanding. We both accept that we both have had past relationships. No big deal. Her husband turns out to be a pretty cool guy. He starts hanging out with my group of guys' friends and we become friends too. This year he joined one of my fantasy football leagues, so he friends me on FB. After I friend him, he friends my wife. My wife takes a look at his profile and asks how long ago I was FWB with his wife. It was 5 years ago. She shows me a recent post that says he and his wife have been married 8 years. Comments: this is one of those things that if it's floating around a newly formed close-knit group of friends it will probably come out sooner or later. If it were me I think I would probably jump that girl's ass in private and ask her exactly what the fuck the deal was back then and take what I was going to do about it from there. It could be she was fucking around on her husband or there could be a legit explanation. I think I'd clear that air first and proceed with whatever information I got from that. If her explanation sounds innocently shady, I'd probably ask her if it was okay if I talked to her husband about it just to make sure she wasn't screwing around. If this dude is your friend, he's probably going to get a little pissy finding out you were screwing his wife, knowingly or not. 3 years into their marriage and you knew all this information and never said anything. I'd respect a guy for explaining the situation and having enough respect to come to me with it. I'd be mad as fuck if I found out my buddy did and knew all that and never said a word. Just let me play along like a fucking chump. Uncle says, in a movie a few years back Up in the Air, George Clooney's character was a businessman traveling around the country as a single mature man. Vera Farmiga's character was as a single businesswoman traveling in a similar manner. They are both cavalier and hook up in hotels around the country with sex as the primary function. After Clooney's character discovers he wants to be with her, he decides to go to the address she had given him and knocks on the door. She runs down the stairs and opens the door with the background noise of her husband and kids, completely shocked. Both of them, your story hit me the same way, a surprise ending for sure.